Hello, good morning students. I hope you are fine. Today we are going to start our first chapter of class 9 science, that is matter in our surroundings. I am Sonali, your science teacher, will be explaining each and every topic covered under this chapter. So first, let's start. What is matter? What do you mean by matter? What do you understand by matter? So, we can say that matter is anything which occupies space and has mass. That means when you see in your surroundings, if you find anything which has occupied space and you can weigh them, that is called matter. So first let's classify the matter. So as you know that early time Indian philosophers used to classify in the form of 5 basic elements such as air, earth, fire, sky and water, which they used to call it Panch Tattva. Here air means Hawa, earth means Zameen, fire means Agni, sky means Akash and water means Jal. So this 5 Panch Tattva, based on that they used to classify. Now in modern time we do classify on the basis of physical state matter, which is further classified into solid, liquid and gases. So solid, for example ice, that turns into liquid state which is water, and if water evaporates, that's turned into gaseous state. On the other hand, on the basis of chemical composition, our matter is classified as a pure substance and the mixtures. So for example, pure substance may be an element like calcium, sodium, or any compound like water, carbon dioxide or some glucose. Now, mixture can be homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. So, what do you mean by homogeneous mixture? Homogeneous mixture is those mixture which are evenly spread, in which solute are properly mixed with the solvent. They are called homogeneous mixture. Example, alloy. Heterogeneous mixture, which are those mixtures which are not evenly spread. That means the composition of solute and solvent varies every time. They are called heterogeneous mixture. For example, chalk powder in the water. Now let's discuss about the physical nature of the matter. Now matter is made up of particle, that is every tiny particles, they are comprised and they form together to form a matter. The particles of matter are very tiny, sometimes invisible. They are so tiny that we cannot see them with the naked eyes. These particles of matter have space between them. The particles of matters are continuously moving. They have energy. The particles of matter attract with each other. So these are 5 basic physical nature of the matter. So the first is, as you know, they occupy space and they have mass. Second is they have particles. These particles are very tiny. This particle possess spaces between them, and these particles of matter are continuously moving. and these particles of matter attract each other. Now, matter is made up of particles. The first thing, let's understand this with the help of an activity. In this activity, let's take one beaker. In that, take some water and measure its level. Now, take 1 teaspoon and dissolve some salt or sugar in it with the help of glass rod. The salt or sugar starts dissolving in the water, but the level of water does not change. This is because the particles of water get into the space between the particles of water. This shows that matter is made up of particles. Here, sugar particle get space between the water particles, so the level of water remain unchanged. Second property, the particles of matter are very tiny. For this, let's perform an activity. For that, you need some food color or a chemical which is potassium permanganate that have a pungent smell and violet color. If you don't have potassium permanganate, you can take any food color available at your home. Take few ml of water, add this crystals of potassium permanganate and try to dissolve in another 100 ml of water. So here you are diluting the concentrated solution of potassium permanganate. Now take the 10 ml of this solution and add to the another beaker and again dissolve in the 100 ml of water. Repeat this process for 5 to 6 times. This shows that the few crystals of your food color or potassium permanganate can color a large volume of water because there are millions and millions of tiny particles in each of the crystal. Now, the third property that we had discussed is the particles of matter have space between them. So again, for this activity, we need to take some beaker and we have to add water and note its level. Dissolve some salt or sugar crystal in it with the help of glass rod or a spoon. The salt dissolves in the water, but the level of water does not change. This is because the particles of salt get into the space between the particles of water. This activity is similar to the first property. Now let's discuss the next property, which states that particles of matter are continuously moving. For that, we'll take again a beaker, and in that beaker I will add some water and put a drop of blue or red ink or a turmeric along with the sides of beaker. Leave it undisturbed for few hours and you will notice that the ink spreads evenly throughout the water due to the movement of particles of the water and the ink. The intermixing of two or more different types of matter on their own is called the diffusion. As you all know that diffusion is the particles when travel from higher concentration to the lower concentration. So as here you can see that the particle of ink start diffusing in the surroundings of water and they start spreading. So we can say that particles of any matter, they are continuously moving. The next property is the particles of matter attract each other. As you can see in the image below, you can see the three objects. One, that is cuboid. Second is the beaker with the liquid, and the third is the glass jar or a flask which possess some air. So here for cube you can notice that as it's look like a solid state. It has fixed shape and the particles are quite close with each other. In the second you can see that second image you can see the particles have little space between them. And the third figure you can notice that particles are quite far from each other because they are gaseous in state. So this activity states that all the particles which make a matter, they are attracted by each other and they form a proper matter irrespective of any shape, which is solid, liquid or gases. Further, we will do states of matter, which is very important part of this lesson, which is solid, liquid and gas. So first of all, the properties of solid. As you can see in the picture, the solids have definite shape and the fixed volume. So wherever you keep solid, they'll have fixed volume. You can measure the volume and they have a particular shape. The space between the particle is very less. You can say it's minimum. So they are closely packed with each other. That enhances their strength, so that the force of attraction between the particle is maximum, or you can say it's highest. That is the reason you cannot compress them. Movement of the particle is quite less or minimum. They are least compressible. The rate of diffusion is also very low as the particle have highest force of attraction. The second state of matter is liquid. As you can see that the liquids have no definite shape but have fixed volume. Liquid take the shape of container. For example, if you pour a water in a glass, it will take the shape of that glass. If you pour water in a bowl or in a utensil, it will take the shape of that utensil or jar or any kind of bowl. The space between the particle is intermediate. It is not too much or not too less. Again, the force of attraction between the particle is intermediate. Again, that means the force is neither too much nor too less. The movement of particle is intermediate. The particles are not moving so volatile or so less. They are less compressible. You can say that liquid you can squash but you can't compress. The rate of diffusion is more than solid. The third state of matter, which is property of gases, we will discuss. They have no definite shape, but yes, again they have fixed volume. Gases occupy the whole space of the container. So as we cannot see the air but we can feel it, so this properties of gas is the space between the particle is highest, the force of attraction so between the particle is less or minimum, the movement of particle is maximum, they are most compressible. You can highly compress the gas, example your LPG cylinder. The rate of diffusion is much more than solid and liquid. For example, if you use a perfume in one area, you can smell it for the larger area because the gas diffuses faster. Now in the next slide, as you can see the image of the particles, as gases they are randomly moving and they don't have a fixed shape. Liquid, they are quite close. The particles are not moving that fast, less than the gas particles. But if you compare the solid, the liquid particles are quite moving better than the solid particles. So let's overview this. Gas particles can diffuse highest, whereas solid particles cannot diffuse that highest. The force of attraction in the solid particle is highest, but for the gas it is least. And space between the particle, the solid have least space, while gas particles have highest space between them. If you compare liquid with gas and solid, their properties remain intermediate. Now,